This is my buddy Juliet, and this is Juliet's roadmap to success. Now, Juliet is kind of aloof around strangers. This is unusual for her to be sitting here with me. Now, I've been here for 3 hours, and in the video above, we talked about if guest comes over, they should try to not pet her. I'll let you have it. There you go, sweetie. That's really impressive. That's a high value item. She's got her, and we talked about body language off camera. She's sideways to me. She's laying down, and she has a high value. Even though I just gave it to her, dogs don't see it as you just gave it to me and you trusted. Most dogs will take it and go walk away. Now, if I start moving around a lot or talking really loud, she will probably stop or get and move away. But because I haven't tried to pet her, I've given her a lot of treats, but I've respected her and listened to her cutoff signals, she feels comfortable enough to lean up against me, even more of a good signal. So I'm really happy that we did the video that we did above, because I think that you can achieve this from some of your other guests if they follow those same steps. All right, so let me recap what we went over. We went over marker words. I have a video on marker words. Let me know if you need it. By the time you guys see it, you should be loaded. So she's gonna be tired today, tomorrow. Each one of you grab about 15 treats, walk around your place doing that loading exercise, wait at least a half an hour, and then the next one does it. Try to do that about 4 times tomorrow. And when you say yes and she looks up, you can stop doing that exercise. We also talked about how to incorporate cues. Remember, there's 4 components: the cue, the action, the marker word, and the reward. But when we're teaching a cue, we do the first step last. Just lure the dog until it's easy to lure them into the position. Then I would do kind of a warm-up, lure 4 or 5 times in a row, and then you say the cue, sit, lure, marker word, and then deliver the treat. So you're sneaking it in. The marker word always comes before the action. So if I'm hand targeting it, I don't want to say smash, I want to say smash, then chop. That's the next thing we went over, was hand targeting. I'd like you guys to practice that one, because again, we incorporated in the video above this one, I love the tail going, because if she can do that really well with you guys, you can use it to reposition her. And the exercise we just did at Palisades Park, get her to look in a different direction at a dog. You can also use that when your guests come over for you guys to play hand targeting or a smash game, and then every once in a while your guest does it, she runs over and touches his nose, she's interacting with your guest in a very minimal capacity, and she's choosing to do so we know we have her consent. Next thing we talked about was celebrating and manners. Celebrating is rewarding her when she chooses to do actions that you find desirable without you asking. I don't think she probably would be okay with it, but I'm not gonna test it. But it has to be within 2 seconds. So right there I could say yes and pet her, because she just moved a little bit. But basically what we're gonna do is when the dog does a desirable action, we're saying marker word yes, and then we're gonna pet her. Scratching the butt is totally fine. You can pet her anywhere except for over here. And I celebrate usually with pets, not with treats. Now, the only time I do not celebrate, we talked a little bit of this on the walk, if I'm doing another activity, then that's the only thing we're doing. If you do other stuff, I might celebrate with a pet, but I really want the dog to focus on whatever we're doing. Also, if you're asking for a sit, the dog gives you a down, don't mark and reward that. That's confusing. We do it to be nice, but it actually confuses dogs. So if we're training a dog to do something specific, at first when they're learning, they can be sloppy. But after a while, it's that action only, or a sloppy version of that action only, before I'm going to get the marker word and the reward. And after a while, you don't want the sloppiness. Celebrating, tell each other celebrate, and that means, honey, I love you, but I think you might have forgotten. So if somebody says celebrate to me, I say yes, and pet the dog under his chin, or preferably her on her chest. The other one, flip side of the coin, is manners. So when she comes up and nudges her nose underneath your hand, you're going to tell her to sit, down, or smash. One time, she has 2 seconds to do it. If she does it, you say your marker word and pet her as much or as little as you want. If she doesn't do it, you just go back to doing what you're doing. Now, if she does it and you tell her smash, she smashes, you pet her a little bit, she does it again and again and again, she might be saying, I need some exercise. You might do some scent work like we talked about, take her for a little walk, play tug of war, something along those lines. So celebrating is when she does something that you like, that you're recognizing and rewarding. Manners is when she's asking for attention in a way that is not as polite as we would like, and we're going to redirect her. One time, if she does it, yes, marker word and treat. If she doesn't do it, you go back to doing what you're doing. That'll motivate her the next time. We also went over exercise. We went over cookie in the corner. That's the exercise that's the mental stimulation. I guess we'll do that one first. We also went over feeding her out of a snuffle mat. The Guardian right now is feeding her out of a puzzle, and they've gravitated to wet food. Nothing wrong with wet food. Wet food's great. But the Guardian's doing it here because she's a little bit finicky with her treats, with her food, and I think that's a correlation to the treats as well. So the Guardians are leaving the food out a lot longer than I would usually recommend for if we want to have structured feeding, which for her I think will make her feel a little bit more comfortable. We put the food down, we invite her, she waits for her food. Some might eat a couple chips or a couple nuts or something, sometimes they're social eaters. And then you're gonna say pizza and tap the bowl, and then she runs over to get it. So we're gonna assign that cue, if provided we tap and she's gonna come over to get it. After a while, you can have her sitting there, you can be sitting over here, you guys can make it out as a couple and say pizza, and she runs over and eats her food. And so that's a good way to develop a little bit of impulse control. Google set games, that's a cookie in the corner where we're throwing on the ground. And use that find it or hunt for you guys when you're on walks. Maybe every walk, find a place on the walk where you do 1 or 2 walks, 1 or 2 find it's. Sorry, that just threw me. I'm very happy about this. So that every block she anticipates we're going to do it. So if you see a dog, then you can do a find it away. Drop one here, then 2 feet away, going away from the street or the sidewalk so that you're increasing the distance. When you're on walks, if there's a dog coming, it's a choke point, wave them through first. Use the shrubbery or the car, walk around it if you need to block her if you're in a choke point. But the idea is you're managing the situation so she doesn't have to. As long as I'm with them, they're going to make sure that other dogs are far enough away where I don't feel a threat. Remember, walking a dog right towards another dog on a sidewalk, we think we're in a pass. They think we're leading right to the other dog. Front-facing approach is confrontational. So if you are going to meet other dogs, try to do it in a big open area without a lot of extra sounds. And after a parallel walk, if they want to kind of walk around each other and you're looking at the body language, it looks good. After a walk or two, you might think that that's okay and she's ready to meet that dog. Just be cautious about it and try not to keep tension on the leash. If you're pulling that leash, that can amplify her emotional response because you're pulling back. So you want to keep the leash, I call it a hang and jay, a little bit of a looseness to the leash. And listen to your guts. We have instincts for a reason. My gut's a little bit big. But if your gut tells you that it's not a dog to meet, don't. And it might be you have to meet the dog 2 or 3 times before on parallel walks before she feels comfortable enough to try to meet them a little bit. And if she gets a little bit of a sniff and walks away, treat her. Make it a good job. Try not to be too excited about it because that can create the arousal. But after a while, we want to start building up that positive association. I'm not going to touch on, I guess we didn't have video for what we did at the park. I have videos for that, so if you forget about that, let me know and I can share a link to one of those videos. Okay, so other mental stimulation, sniffing on walks burns almost twice as much energy and not sniffing on a walk. So let her sniff as long as it's safe to do so. If she doesn't sniff on a walk, I take shredded Swiss cheese and I'll sprinkle some grass in areas so the dog goes there. Now, you're in an urban area, if you do that, some other dog or somebody might grab that. But those are nice ways to get her rolling forward and looking for stuff. But there's also Googling scent games, finding a couple other scent games that you can do. Training is a great way to drain energy. Now training, keep it 1, 2, 3 minutes maximum any training session. Always end on a positive repetition because that's the brightest memory outcome they're going to have. And after a while, you'd rather practice a little bit less and have them want more than practice too much and have them not want to do it. Or you got frustrated last time we did it, let's not do that anymore. So always end on a high note. Let me see, you can also, if she likes to play tug of war, that's a nice way to burn energy, playing fetch. Going for walks is pretty obvious. Let them sniff on walks. There we go. So right there, that was great. So kind of vocalize a little bit of a whine for mom, and that's kind of the manners lesson. The Guardian did it all herself, so she gets a gold star. And so the same sort of thing. So when she whines, she's saying, I want some attention, we're gonna say sit. Now what you're gonna find is eventually she's gonna come in SIT next to them. That's also really awesome. And again, I'm not trying to pet her. I probably could at this point, but I don't take behavior for granted. I want to just soak this up. And so tell your friends when you get to this point, enjoy it. Don't take it because you might spoil all the work you did. I'd rather go one more visit and then the next visit we're kind of petting and all that because she is choosing to do so. All right, so let me see. So we went over dog consent and cutoff signals. I have a video on that one. It's just me talking, but I kind of go through what all the various ones are. Let me know if you want me to share that if I don't have it linked above on this write-up. Also, study her body language. So when you're doing these exercises, maybe one of you stands off to the side and films her and the other dog in the foreground. So you can kind of come back and watch it on a big screen TV, watch it in slow motion, see what her tells are. Just like a poker player, dogs give certain signals before they feel uncomfortable or comfortable enough to chew or something. And so figuring out what those are can really help. Watching her signals and practice when you're ready. If you're on a walk and you don't have time to be watching all this stuff, go north of Montana and go in the nice neighborhood and wander around so you don't have to worry about it. When you're in your neighborhood, you got to have your head on a swivel, have treats with you. The mini treat pouch from PetSafe is the one that I got right here. I would strongly recommend you get one of those. The treats that I'm using, I was using Stewart's freeze-dried beef liver. As one of the guardians we're talking about, there is a potential for pancreatitis when you use too much. So I'd like to see if we can use the Find Its. You can even do the Find Its with a cookie in the corner here, hunt for you guys. And then eventually do it outside your building and start getting used to it, doing that park. And eventually you can transition hopefully to the tricky trainers and use those, because those you can give a whole bunch. They're rich. Sometimes they give a little diarrhea because they're so rich, but or find whatever treat she likes. It doesn't have to be my treats, just as long as it's reinforcing for her. Let me see. Get yourself, use that lick mat when you have guests over. I guess I talked about that above. For food, put the food down. I think I talked about that as well, didn't I? Anything else you want me to go over? You don't have to think about it now. I'm always available for you guys.
I think just the summary of the exercises outside, you said the engage, disengage.
Okay, so I have a video on engage, disengage. If I don't have it linked up there, let me know. I can share it with you directly. But engage is basically when the dog looks at the other dog, we say yes, and then we put a treat in. At first, I was having to hold the treat so that to kind of look, because she was not really looking at things. But really, if she is what I want to engage, I'm the dog, and the human is right here, I look, the human says yes, that causes me to turn to get the treat. I look back, yes, another one. So engage is marking for looking at the other dog. Disengage, after you do this enough, the dog will look at the other dog and look away. Then you say yes when I look at you from looking away from the other dog. That's the disengage part. Now, engage, disengage has a lot of options to it. So basically, when I'm doing engage, disengage, I might be doing the engage part. The dog's looking, feels pretty relaxed. I take one step closer, practice again. Gradually get closer and closer to the trail that we were on or whatever it is. Or you can do the engage, disengage from 7 feet, and first I'm doing engage, then I'm doing disengage. I prefer to gradually get the dog closer, but again, we have to kind of be mindful. At this point, we're walking her towards the dangerous thing. So it's not like in the video I talked about where I was throwing the treats, that's a little bit different. So we're kind of luring her towards them. So we have to be careful and really watch her body language. I don't want her to get so close that she feels uncomfortable. Remember, the sit for me is an indicator of how comfortable she is. So I might sit her just to keep her from farting around and looking too many different directions. But if I say sit and she won't sit, I'm going to move 5 feet, well, not necessarily 5. Usually I move 5 feet away. In your case, doing that, I'd move maybe a foot or two away and try to do it again. But you can do the engage, disengage game with her looking. And all it really is, I call it click for looks. I usually do this with the clicker, but we were just using the yes. But the dog looks at the other dog, they get a treat, mark a word, then a treat, and after a while, when they look away. Now, we also went over some parallel walks. We did that a little bit. When you're parallel walking, it's not important. I kind of do this angle so people understand that gradually we're going to get closer and closer. I usually have human, human, dog, dog. But it could be dogs in the middle. There's no right or wrong, right or wrong, you know what I'm trying to say. But we want to have it be all of us in a line. So if I'm here, the dog is here, the next dog is here, I don't want to have the human and the next dog over there or there. I want to we're all walking parallel to each other as we're moving forward. So the amount of distance is required is going to depend on the dog. If you have a dog, we had the elderly dog, we were able to get a little closer. We had the Shiba Inu who was very sitting still. She was able to get a little closer. The other dog that was moving around got a little, a little bit of a chubbier dog, kind of came closer, and then we had a little bit of a snip. Your goal for that exercise is no reactivity. It's better to go a couple of practice, 1 minute practice session, break, 1 minute practice session, break, 1 minute practice session, break, and then we leave. And we want to build one positive experience with no reactivity on top of another. If you're like a lot of my clients, every walk there's a reactivity. So every walk I'm re-triggered, I'm looking for that. What we're looking for is to build no reactivity walk on another one. Even if it's short, 1 minute no reactivity walk, then another 1 minute no reactivity walk. After a while, the way their brains are set up, that's kind of becomes the normal behavior. Trying to think if there's anything else. Does it feel good?
That's it.
Okay, so watch this video once a week until when you watch this video, there's nothing new. If that's the case, or you want to set up a follow-up session or you want to do the reactive class for me, just let me know. If you have any questions, do not hesitate. I am here for you. I charge if I have to come out for my time. I don't charge for phone calls or texts, and I've got over 14,000 videos. So I can share a lot of stuff with you. It's customized for other people, but now that you guys have the fundamentals, you can indoctrinate it and make it your own. All right, the last thing, the pause interrupter. So let's see. Puppy, puppy, puppy. It's like, now you're just disturbing me. When I moved, body language, I moved a little further away. So I stopped doing the thing that made her move away. So what I'd have you guys do is whichever one was she seems to respond to, it seemed to be either puppy, 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 or the sound. So walk around your house and load that. Go treat, treat, walk around your place. So now when she's doing the thing you don't want, an undesirable behavior, you say, she looks at you and you go, smash. She runs over and touches her nose to your hand, and then you give her a carrot or something else to do. And so that's a nice way to stop her from coming to you. Also, last little thing. So celebrate is what we're going to say to each other when we miss an opportunity. So like right there, celebrate. You just missed an opportunity. Manners means that you're petting the dog at a time where the dog might have asked for something inappropriate. Slytherin means you're saying a hard S. Vocabulary means you're using a different word than our designated words. Speaking of which, sit down tonight, write down a list of all the cues that she knows and what are the exact cues for them, and say vocabulary to each other to help you guys get in that same path. Now she's looking for the treats that I have on the ground. All right, come here, come. Oh, a little tip, make it look like you have a treat. The lower you go, the more it's for the dog. Now for her, there we go. Well, you can't really probably see it in the shot, so I'll just give that to her. But you saw her earlier. She's on her dog bed. Oh, dog bed. India, toss a treat. She steps on it, yes, and she licks up the treat. And then wait for her to vacate, do it again. I have a video for this as well. And after a while, you want to say India, or whatever the word of the dog bed is. She goes to the dog bed, then you say your marker word and give her the treat. At first, we throw the treat as a lure, but after she does this enough, you should be able to say the word. She goes there, then we say yes, and as she steps on, we give her a treat. And also, there's something called a jackpot. If she does something difficult the first time, I might say yes and give her 5 treats in a row. So that's something the first time or something that's very difficult. We're saying, what did I just do? I just got the mother load of treats. I gotta remember so I can do this again. So if you have something difficult or substantial, or like, she goes over and sniffs one of your house guests for the first time, comes back to you, yes, and give her 5 treats. Now you only have about a 2-second window. So when she does an action, you want to say the marker word within 2 seconds, but you really want to say it at the same time that she does it. When you give a treat, that needs to be within 2 seconds of saying the marker word, but a third of a second is your goal. And remember, when you say your marker word or your cue, don't say any other words for about 5 seconds so it resonates. She's not giving me a cutoff signal, but try to watch the petting on top of the head. Okay, well, this is Juliet's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.